y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make a pecan cobbler. I've never made one of these, so this will be a first for us both. If you're new to it. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And you're going to put 6 tablespoons of butter in your 9x13 baking dish. You're going to go ahead and put it in the oven and let the oven, as it's preheating, go ahead and melt that butter for you. And while that's going on, we're going to go ahead and get our dry ingredients mixed up real quick. Well, it'll be dry and wet. Our flour, our sugar, our milk, and our vanilla, we're going to get all that mixed up right now. So, you're going to need 1.5 cups of self-rising flour. And don't have my stuff ready as always. So, here we go. It's a half, 1 and a half. All right, and then our sugar is the same. So that's half, 1. That's a little bit. There we go. So white sugar. Brown sugar does go into this, but we're going to save that for last. It's one of our last ingredients, or later ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and whisk this together. Try to get these lumps out. So 1.5 cups white granulated sugar and 1.5 cups self-rising flour. Alright, we're going to sift all that, get that done. Alright, got that finished. And now we need 2/3 of a cup of milk. And I don't have my measuring cups ready. You're just going to use whole milk. 1, 2. And you can add more if it's needed. So I'm going to leave it out. And our vanilla, we're going to need 1 teaspoon. Alright. So, I'm going to have to get a spoon because I didn't grab one first. Normally I'm ready, but not today. Now, as far as I can tell, this recipe is a dump and go kind of situation. Yeah, we're going to have to use just a teeny bit more milk. If you see this and you see where it's kind of just a teeny bit of milk, maybe a tablespoon or so. I'm not sure. I know it's supposed to be doughy, but I'm not sure it's supposed to be that dry. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, so you can use whatever you need to mix this, but it is kind of thick, so it may be a little bit too much for a mixer, but it may not be if you've got one of those heavy duty type. All right, so let me check. Butter's almost done. So I try not to over mix this, just get it mixed and just let it sit. That's what the recipe says. So you're going to need, for the rest of the recipe, pecans of course, but you're also going to need some brown sugar and some hot water. So I'm going to start working on my hot water now while my butter is almost, that was cold butter that I put in there. So it's taking a good 10 minutes or so for it to melt completely. But I'm going to go ahead and heat up some really good hot water. That way I've got that. And we've only got a few more ingredients and we're ready to put this in the oven. So I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. So this is melted and ready to go. Maybe y'all can see, hopefully. Okay. This. Alright, so your butter, your 6 tablespoons of butter is melted completely. And we need to put our pecans over this. And this is just a cup of chopped pecans. I'd prefer halves, but we couldn't get those at the store. It's getting close to the holidays. You know, it's hard. It's harder and harder to get things the closer you wait. All right, and now I'll take this batter. If I can get my spoon clean. And we're going to put this over the pecans, and you're not going to mix it. You don't mix it, you don't stir it. So what I'm going to do is try to kind of, ooh, that pan's hot. Just kind of douse it around. Ooh, it's sticky. All right. Now, it's a very similar process as the lava cake or the cake, the Hershey's cake that I've done before. Very similar. The hot water goes on it too. Same way. Little, you know, some of it's a little bit different, but it's basically the same. Okay, now brown sugar. We're gonna need 1.5 cups of brown sugar as well. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour it over the batter. We're not going to mix it. I'm trying to make sure that I don't melt the bag. This pan's hot. All right. I'm using light brown sugar because that's my choice. That's what I use for everything. And then I'm going to just take this and we're going to sprinkle. So that's 1/2 cup. We need another whole cup. Sprinkle this. And this is what's going to join with the butter. And it's going to make like your syrupy consistency. All right. A lot of sugar in this recipe. Do not, you can kind of move it around a little bit, but do not mix it. Okay. Wash my hands real quick because that's messy. Okay, and now we are going to pour this hot water over the top very carefully because it's hot. And that's it. It goes in the oven for a 1/2 hour and we are finished. And I'm just kind of going over all my, making sure the sugar got doused with the water. All right. You're not going to cover it or anything. We're going to just put this in the 350-degree oven, 30-35 minutes, or until it's golden brown. And I will be back here in a few with the results. Okay, y'all. So this is the finished product. It did perfect. I let it sit for about 5 minutes or so to kind of cool off. It's still very hot. When you take it out, make sure that it's golden brown on top and it's bubbly, and it'll be perfect. I think this is going to be really good. We're going to put it with some Cool Whip, but you can put it with vanilla ice cream too. That'd probably be really good. But these recipes for the cake and for the cobbler are both perfect for any holiday. Doesn't necessarily have to be a fall holiday. It could be Christmas. So it's two new or new to me recipes that you can use for the holidays. this a little bit different than your usual. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make a cake. This is called Apple Dapple Sheet Cake. And you need to preheat your oven to 350. Let me do that. And go ahead and get all your ingredients and let's get started. First thing that I did was I switched the all-purpose flour, the salt, and the baking soda in the recipe over to self-rising flour. And we took that and the sugar and put it in a bowl together right here. And I whisked all that together. Just to kind of sift it, get the lumps out, that kind of thing. And then in this bowl here, we're going to put our butter and something. Hold on just 1 second. Let me melt this butter while I'm at it. In this bowl, we're going to put our oil and our melted butter. I believe it's a whole stick of butter, which I find crazy, that and oil, but okay, whatever. Yeah, the whole stick. So this butter needs to be melted. So we're gonna do that real quick. And we're gonna go ahead and start adding all the stuff together. Sorry, y'all. Forgot to grab a whisk. Okay, so in this bowl, we need to put our oil, which is gonna be cup, and I'm just going to use my measuring cup that I measured my sugar with because eventually it's going to all go together anyway. So a cup of oil, and I've already put my sugar in with this because I wanted my dry ingredients together. So we're going to just continue, even though you're supposed to add the sugar in with the butter and all that. I wasn't going to cream anything because the butter's melted. So there's that. We're going to add our eggs to this. And our vanilla. Our vanilla is, I believe it was 2 teaspoons. Let me check real quick. Yeah, 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons. You know what? We're just going to put all that in there because it's just the last little bit. Okay. And our eggs. I've got them here. You're going to need 3 eggs. Okay. So it's a little bit different than your typical cake, the way it mixes up. And actually, all of it, it's all kind of just different. Alright, so even though our butter is melted, I'm going to give it a second to cool off. Not too much, just a little bit, because I don't want it to cook my eggs. So we're going to just kind of whisk these together. And it's really a pretty simple recipe. It's not too complicated. Let me get my apples chopped real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, y'all. So, note to self, never buy apples that are reduced price at Aldi's. Unless you're going to do something else with them, because most of these were no good. So, I use Gala apples. You could use Granny Smith, Fuji, Honeycrisp, Raven, or Pink Lady. I just used Gala, that's what I had, so we just went with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a little bit of this in at a time, hoping that my eggs don't cook. It has cooled off just a little bit, this butter has, so far so good. Just going to whisk it, whisk it, whisk it. Okay. So, oil, melted butter, sugar's going to go in this, eggs, and our vanilla. but we're going to, we'll try to do this with a whisk, but I bet anything it's going to have to be a spoon. So go ahead and add your flour and your sugar. 3 cups of self-rising flour, 2 cups of granulated white sugar. I'm just going to slowly add it. This is going to get really thick. And then the only thing left to add will be our apples and some pecans. I have made this before where you don't have to use the pecans if you don't want to. This time I'm going to put some in. I'm not even going to put in the full 1 cup because I don't have it. But I'm going to put a little bit in there. I think I've got about a half a cup. See, it's already getting thick. So this is going to be a very, very dense cake. Very sweet. I'm gonna keep trying to use this whisk. I don't know how far I'm gonna get. Starting getting thick. Thick, thick, thick. I wouldn't recommend using a mixer. You can if you've got a stand mixer, but it's going to climb the beaters. So I don't know that I would do that. Alright, I'm going to get a spoon. Be a little bit easier to stuff, which we're going to have to switch to a spoon anyway because the apples and the pecans are going to be folded in. So, okay. And my pan that I'm going to use is going to be a 9x13, so you probably need to go ahead and have that grease set aside as well. Alright, y'all. Smells really good. So, I chopped up roughly about 3 apples. You can do as many as 4. They're not tiny, tiny, like fine dice, but they are a little bit smaller. And if you don't like big chunks of apple, then you can chop them up even smaller. I wouldn't do fine though, or minced or anything like that. I would just try to chop it up about half an inch or so in size. Alright, so because the dough is so thick and the apples are so chunky, you have to kind of fold it in. And then I'm just going to add my chopped pecans, which is about half a cup. You need to do a whole cup, or that's what the recipe calls for anyway. So you just fold it all in together. And then basically, that's it. It doesn't really, I think it's a really old-fashioned recipe. And, so it's not that complicated. Ugh. It's a workout. Alright, let me get my pan. Already got the spray ready. Oven is ready to go. I'm trying to see. So you're going to cook this for you're going to bake this for 45 to 55 minutes at 350 degrees. And then we're going to make a caramel sauce that goes over it. I wasn't going to do the caramel sauce. I was just going to put some icing on it. But I got thinking, this is like an old-fashioned recipe. And a lot of people know it probably by that icing. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it. Shouldn't be too complicated. But if you're wanting to do something different, and you're like, I don't want to do all that, see if you can find you some store-bought caramel icing. They used to make it. If you can't, I would use cream cheese icing or a white buttercream. I think that's what it's called, white buttercream or vanilla buttercream. That's what I would do. So, let's scoop all this off. And then just spread this out. So 45 to 55 minutes, 350 degrees. And then test it with your toothpick. Make sure it's good to go. That's it. Alright, y'all. I'll see y'all back here in a little while. We'll go ahead and get started on that sauce. Okay, y'all. So, cake is done. I poked holes in it and I've set it aside because this is going to be like a poke cake. Right now, we're going to work on the caramel sauce that goes on top. You're going to need 1 cup of light brown sugar, 1/4 cup of milk, and a stick of butter, unsalted. And then we'll get this melted, and then we have to cook it for about 1.5 minutes, or until the temperature of 200 degrees is reached. And I cannot find my digital thermometer. I have looked and looked, so I'm just gonna hope this does right. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm gonna get this melted first, and then we'll do our 1.5 minute count. So I'll be back with you when we get closer. There's no sense in y'all sitting here watching this melt. So I'll be right back as soon as we get to that point. Okay, y'all. So we brought it to a little bit of a boil. I'm trying not to let it get too quick on that boil. And then for the next 1.5 minutes, we need to just kind of steadily stir. And then just keep heating it up. I'm going to cut my burner on low. And then we'll pick it up off the burner a little bit because it's just not slowing down fast enough. We got to stir constantly for 1.5 minutes. It's going to become a caramel, more of a caramel color. Right now it's kind of a peanut butter color. So I'm trying to get it just a teeny bit lighter and a little bit thicker. Let's see if I can get this right. It even smells like caramel or a butterscotch. Okay. Alright, I'm going to just do a few more seconds. Let it cook just a few more seconds. Okay, y'all, so it's all done. What we're going to do now is we are going to concentrate on the holes that I poked in the cake. You want a majority of that to go in there. And then get all the places you missed. Okay, so I probably poked too many holes in, and I probably made them too big, but I used the end of my, I use this into that to put my holes. So it is what it is. What are we going to do now? It's too late. So you need to let this sit for a little while and let it cool completely down. And then I'll cut into it and then I'll let y'all see it. Hopefully it's not a big mess. Okay. I'll be right back with you in about an hour or so. Let's give it about an hour. Hey y'all. Well, here's the finished product. As you can see, it kind of fell apart right here. I tasted it though. Delicious. Just don't make the mistake that I did about poking the holes too big. I know better, but I was not even thinking about what I was doing when I did that. And then that way your sauce, your caramel sauce, will sit on top more instead of soaking down into the cake. But it still tastes good. It's a very dense, very moist cake, but it tastes really good. It does remind me of an old-fashioned cake from scratch. So really good cake. But it doesn't take much to make. Very good for low budget, and you just want some kind of slice of appley goodness on a low budget. That definitely would work. Okay, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.